Brand new video today. 2 NBA player props here on PrizePicks for Friday, November 15th. We do have the NBA Cup here in-season tournament. Massive slate overall. And again, with the in-season tournament being points differential, a lot of these games should be super competitive. Again, points do matter. So I think if we do see like a game get out of reach, I think starters will play a little bit more than they normally would. Before we get started, you guys take a look in the description below of the video. Hop into the Discord, $9.30 per month, 31 cents per day. It's where I post all the plays I'm making on PrizePicks. We have other cappers in there as well. Super positive community. Everyone in there just trying to help each other cash. Currently doing a promo, 20% off your first month of the Discord if you are a first-time member. Link in the description using promo code TUFF. But also, let's talk about Daily Rand Fantasy really quickly, you guys. DFS Optimizer. Again, absolutely tool. I do mention this in every video, but it's a tool that I do use to add plays into my parlays every single day, every single night. Like, for example, the top play on the board would be Tobias Harris under 24.5 PR, points plus rebounds, because it's pretty much listed universally at 23.5 on every other major sports book. It's at 24.5 on PrizePicks, showing that one point or one rebound discrepancy, which can go a long way. Again, this does all the hard work for you. You'd have to literally go to every single one of these sports books and go back to PrizePicks to compare these lines. Again, link in the description. You can get 25% off your first month using promo code TUFF with the link in the description and that promo code TUFF. Link in the description below for that. But let's get into it. 2 player props that I do like. For this NBA in-season tournament slate, both these plays are going to be fantasy score lines. Again, I do apologize if you don't have fantasy score on your books. You could always pivot to PRA, points, rebounds, plus assists. I think that's a good pivot as well. But let's get into it. First play I'm looking at here is going to be Jalen Duren, over 32 fantasy score. I know overall this season he's been a frustrating player with fouls and like a little bit of injuries, but I mean, if he plays a decent amount of minutes, right, he's over in 5 of 7 games this season when he plays 25 minutes, just 25 minutes alone. Again, this is also outlier. There's a link in the description. You get a 70 free trial. But 25 minutes this season, he's over in 5 of 7 games. If you go to his last 20, he's over in 11 of 20 games with 25 plus minutes. But I really like this spot just given the matchup. The matchup versus the Toronto Raptors, they allow the most fantasy points in the NBA, and it's not even close. 64.7 fantasy points is what they are allowing this season to centers. And Jalen Duren already has a great hit rate versus Toronto. Last season, he had 57.1 and 40.4 fantasy points. He had 57.1 fantasy last year in only 28 minutes versus the Raptors. Now, obviously, teams change year to year, but given how centers have been able to exploit the Raptors so far this season, I mean, the most fantasy points in the NBA, right? If you look at centers fantasy score game log this season versus Toronto, I mean, you can see 11 different centers have cleared this line. And I mean, I want to say there's only been close to 11 games. Like Toronto has literally played 12 games, right? So when you look at that, you compare, 11 different centers have cleared this line. The only center that didn't clear this line is Jackson Hayes. And he finished with 23.7 in 21 minutes. Jalen Duren has actually played decent minutes over his last 2. He got hurt in this game versus the Lakers, right? Then has played 30 and 36 minutes. And again, like I said, this is a kind of a must-win game. I think both these teams want to win this game, considering both these teams are kind of the lower-ranked teams in the NBA. And just like I said, look at these hit rate. Look at the hit rate for centers. Like Drummond, 37.8, Jared Allen, 37.9. And then 9 different centers have had 40-plus fantasy points against Toronto. Nick Richards had 60.8. Really not trying to overthink this one, given his hit rate versus Toronto last season, given how I do expect him, if he stays out of foul trouble, to play 30-plus minutes. And if he sees 30-plus minutes, this should be an easy over, in my opinion, if you consider players that have played 30-plus minutes. Like 30-plus minutes versus Toronto, following players 60, 52, 40, 66, 43, 44, 56, and 64 fantasy. All we need is 32 from Duren here. I like this spot a lot. Second one here is Anthony Edwards, over 40 fantasy score. And again, also give me a follow, you guys, on Twitter at ToughPicks. I don't know why I have Marcus Smart here, but give me a follow on Twitter at ToughPicks. I'm doing daily plays of the day. Anthony Edwards is currently the play of the day on Twitter. I did a full write-up here, but again, it's just value, so I'm also doing it for the YouTube video. But again, link in the description below. Not always will the Twitter play of the day be the same as the YouTube play. But for this one, I think there's some supreme value here. But again, at ToughPicks on Twitter, doing daily plays of the day. We're currently 9-3 on that. But getting to Anthony Edwards, definitely a slow start to the season. I think the Olympics kind of affected him, but coming off a game where he played 40 minutes, this is a must-win game for Minnesota. Obviously, they're coming off 3 straight losses, and obviously it's the NBA Cup as well. But looking at this one, let's actually go to NBA lineups real quick. Looking at this one, I think this should be obviously a close game. Teams that know each other very well. 1.5 point spread, DeRozan is questionable, or I guess doubtful. So 1.5 point spread at home for Sacramento. We know Sacramento plays well at home and they love to play fast. But Anthony Edwards, like I said, I mean, on the season or last season, and when he plays 34 plus minutes, he's over in 52 of 72 games. This season, 5 of 10, right? So again, up and down season for him. But I like this spot a lot with Minnesota coming off, again, 3 straight losses in a must-win game. I think Anthony Edwards plays close to 40 minutes. Like if we see him play, just see him play 39 last season in 39 minutes, 17 of 22, averaging 49.74 fantasy. We look at other guards this season in 35 plus minutes versus the Kings, like lead guards. Trae Young, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards, Powell, and Barrett have all cleared this line pretty easily. Pace-up matchup. We also know Anthony Edwards, game log last season versus the Kings in 32 minutes, had 56 and 58.9 fantasy in those 2 games versus the Kings last year in 32 minutes. I mean, 34 and 35. So great spot for both these guys. 2 plays for this YouTube video. Please drop a like, hit the subscribe button, check out me on Twitter. And as always, let's cash.